Hello, my name is Mark Gardner, and I'd like to talk to you today about the entry-level driver training course available through Avatar and Avatar Fleet. More importantly, if you've ever been in the business of creating CDL drivers, and by creating, I mean taking someone out of a Volkswagen or a minivan and teaching them to be a professional driver in a bus, school bus, tractor trailer, garbage truck, or any other large vehicle, commercial vehicle, the ELDT, which goes into effect on February the 7th, is about to disrupt significantly the way you have done things in the past. Before February the 7th of 2022, you must register online with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration if you want to continue to develop CDL drivers. This registration is on the honor system, but you'll have to tell them such things as I have qualified facilities, qualified drivers, qualified instructors. I have a curriculum that meets the standards. I have vehicles that meet the standards. And all of this will be required for you to be a training facility. Today, you can be a training facility without any of this. And today, most people who get a CDL get a learner's permit by taking a written test at the State Licensing Bureau. They appear on your doorstep and you take that person and teach them how to be a driver. In the future, there will be no written test on the front end. There'll be no learner's permit. Someone will come to you, maybe with an application, and you'll hire them. And from day one, you'll be teaching them to drive a commercial vehicle with nothing other than their passenger license that they have on board. How will that work? We'll get into that in just a moment. First, the entry-level CDL driver training requirements under Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration require certain curriculum requirements, qualified instructors, facilities and vehicles. Trainees must pass written assessments. We're not really sure what written means yet. It could be web-based. And you must maintain records of their proficiency for 3 years. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration claims that it will audit the training providers to make sure that they have met the requirements and continue to meet the requirements on a go-forward basis. Under the curriculum, they're not very specific, but they do list 5 broadly defined areas of study. The first is orientation, which is kind of an introduction to being a professional driver, the rules, the regulations, 391.41, driver qualifications and vehicles. Basic vehicle operations, which would include mirrors and seats and lights and hazard warnings and things like drop and hook and shifting for tractor trailers. Safe operating practices, which is principally defensive driving. Advanced operations, which I am kind of opposed to, but things like recovering from a skid. And then non-driving activities such as loading and cargo securement and getting in and out of the truck with a 3-point stance. Again, very, very little specificity as to what the curriculum has to have to teach other than these 5 big units. Instructors, however, that's a different story. There's quite a bit of specificity here. Both classroom and BTW instructors must be qualified, and by qualified, they mean must have a CDL, 2 years of experience with that CDL in the class for which they're teaching. So if I'm teaching a truck driver, I have to have a Class A CDL in good standing for 2 years. If I'm teaching a bus driver, I have to have a Class B with a P endorsement. If I'm teaching someone for hazmat, I have to have 2 years of CDL with my hazmat. They will audit the registered training sites and they'll look for the facilities. Once again, they're pretty abstract as to what they're looking for, but we can assume that at a minimum, they're going to look for the closed course or range because they have specified 5 specific stations that they want people to complete in a cone course. These are slightly different than Avatar's current versions, and so we'll be altering ours. But as an example, they have forward and backward, or they have backing both blind side and sighted side, as well as parallel parking. The vehicles must be able to pass a roadside inspection. This is kind of a big deal because in the past, many training schools and many training providers, our own clients included, have used dilapidated or broken down or otherwise not roadworthy vehicles. Today, even if they're not going out on the road, they must be able to pass an inspection. While there are no training hours specified, ironically, and there are only broadly defined subjects, ironically, They then go on to say that the trainees must score 80% or higher on written assessments. Now, mind you, they don't mention how many questions are in the assessment or even what the questions might be. And in theory, I guess you could have a one question test that said, did you learn all about trucks in our course? And if you said yes, that might pass as a 100%. Again, there's no specifications on how many questions or what the questions even have, just that you have to get an 80%. When it comes to the BTW instruction and the skills proficiency, they're leaving that up to the individual instructors to decide. Somewhat arbitrary, but if an instructor says you're proficient at driving the vehicle, then that's good enough for them. Let's turn our attention to Avatar's solution. Avatar has had for some number of years now a CDL finishing school. It assumed that someone went to a truck driver training school for 3 or 4 weeks and got their CDL. Knowing what is taught at truck driver training school, which is principally rules, regulations, things like drug tests and singular license and an annual physical, and the majority of the hands-on at a CDL training school has traditionally been pre-trip inspections and a range, followed by usually 20 to 30 hours of driving instruction. That was all intended for one thing: pass the CDL evaluation. So Avatar built onto that a 350-hour curriculum called Finishing School, which actually takes a person who has a CDL license and makes them into a real professional driver. What we're going to do is take our web-based CDL unit, which is 4.5 hours long and prepares someone for the written portion, traditional written portion of the CDL, and merge that together with the other 24 titles of A-Fleet education and training. The government has not specified any minimum requirements for web-based trainers or training, and we don't have to have a CDL in order to present and promulgate this to our clients. Once the people get through the web-based courses, including the new CDL one that has been around, we just haven't used it, they'll go through BTW instruction. We're going to bolster or grow a little bit our range in our closed course operations so that they have more time with mirrors, backing, shifting, and pre-trip inspections. And then we're going to make sure that our closed course has the 5 required exercises that they have. And then the person will go through either our 6 or our 8-week syllabi, which is already available in existence today, which heavily features LLC defensive driving, and will require at least our clients to use this. They'll have to have they'll have to have LLC certified instructors. Avatar's documentation today is 2-part carbonless forms. It's clumsy, but it's accurate and it's complete. And you have a different page for each day of the 30 to 40 days worth of training that can become part of the driver's file. However, if a company or a client needed to maintain 3 years worth of these for both the winners and the failures who went through their training program, it could become onerous to have a place to file all that stuff. But you have to have 3 years, and you have to have 3 years for theory, which is classroom. And in essence, we would get that from our web-based instruction, closed course, and from behind the wheel. What we're suggesting is that we're going to complete our training tracker or instructor's helper or A-Fleet documenter, whatever we want to call the thing, so that the instructor can enter progress into a mobile device as the trainee goes through the program. The data would either go into our LMS or into the Comply DQF, or maybe both. And we would create a complete training record for the web-based courses, the classroom, if there is any, closed course, and BTW. This would be fast and efficient and allow our trainers or our instructors to quickly gather that information and make it auditable for when Federal Motor Carrier comes back out and wants to look at those documents. So this was just a quick intro to ELDT. Remember, it goes into effect February 7th. On February the 8th, none of our clients who have not yet registered can teach somebody and make them into a CDL driver. They could go through all the motions, but the person can't go down and get their CDL license any longer, because when the instructor is completed with teaching a trainee his or her CDL requirements, they have 24 hours to report the progress and proficiency to the State Licensing Bureau. The State Licensing Bureau then has evidence that this trainee went through the training and is allowed to then take the CDL test with the state trooper. So that's what we know so far. You can't ask me questions now, but you can certainly email me or call me or text me at any time and get the answers to your questions.